Now we're going to read about Jacob's blessing of Joseph's sons, which is actually in the previous chapter. And Joseph's sons were Ephraim and Manasseh. So in the previous chapter, in Genesis 48, we read, "And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick, and he took with him his two sons Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob, and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself, and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and I will make thee a multitude of people, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon they shall be mine. And thy issue which thou begettest after them shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance." What Jacob is actually doing, here's Jacob here, blessing the two lads, the two sons of Joseph. Here's Joseph, here's Ephraim and Manasseh. Well, what Jacob's actually doing is he's actually saying that my first two sons, Reuben and Simeon, I'm going to actually adopt Ephraim and Manasseh, and they're going to take the place of Reuben and Simeon as first and second born, if you like. That's what he's actually doing. He's not getting rid of Reuben and Simeon as his sons, no, but he's taking his grandsons of Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and they're going to take first and second place over Reuben and Simeon. So that's a pretty amazing thing. So there are 12 tribes of Israel, but there are actually 13. What happens is Joseph gets split up into two actual tribes that are actually reckoned to be tribes in their own right, Ephraim and Manasseh. When Ephraim and Manasseh are combined, they are called Joseph, but when they are spoken of separately, they're called Ephraim and Manasseh. And when that happens, then Levi is usually removed from the list of tribes. And again, there's a relationship between Levi and Joseph. Levi does something that the firstborn does, which is he operates as a priest, and Yahweh took the Levites to be for the firstborn of all the families of Israel, to perform the duties of the tabernacle and priesthood. In verse 7 we read, "And as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, when yet there was but a little way to come unto Ephrath, and I buried her there in the way to Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem." Interestingly, Ephrath is the feminine version of Ephraim, which means to be fruitful. "And Israel beheld Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons, whom God hath given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, God hath showed me also thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them. and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. Ephraim was not the oldest, it was Manasseh. So Ephraim, Jacob was actually blessing Ephraim as the firstborn of Joseph instead of Manasseh, and Joseph thought he was making a mistake, but he was being led by the Spirit, and Ephraim was going to be the one that receives the right of firstborn. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused, and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great, but truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations, or Melo Hagoyim, or Melo Goyim. And we'll have a look at that now, just recap. So Jacob's promise to Joseph's son was that he will make him a multitude of nations, or Melo Hagoyim. And as we saw earlier, Melo Hagoyim means fullness. So it will become the fullness of the nations, or the fullness of the Gentiles. Which reminds us of the verse in Romans that says, For I would not, brethren, ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Okay, let's continue. And he blessed them that day, saying, And these shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I die, but God shall be with you, and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. Yahweh has promised a great deal to Joseph and his two sons, basically to be fruitful, and they get the right of the firstborn. So Joseph and his descendants become the leaders of the northern tribes, or the 10 tribes. And we're going to read now about the sad division of the house of Israel and the house of Judah. We read that the house of Judah and the house of Israel are split. We get 2 tribes going to the house of Judah and 10 tribes to the house of Israel. And we'll have a look at this in detail now. Now, most people should be familiar with King David and King Solomon. King David is triumphant over all his enemies, and his son Solomon builds the temple. Unfortunately, Solomon tends to tax the people too much, and this causes a great deal of troubles. And Solomon takes an Ephraimite from the house of Joseph to look after things. It says in 1 Kings 11:28, And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, and Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him, and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, Take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give thee 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. So we have now the split of Israel being prophesied, and Solomon's lieutenant, if you like, from Joseph, that has charge of all the house of Joseph, all the 10 tribes, and the Ephraim and Manasseh, including Ephraim and Manasseh. He is now going to have control of all of that kingdom when it splits. So the house of Israel here has 10 tribes. They're located in the north, and they're called the house of Israel. And they're headed by Ephraim. And in the south, we have the house of Judah, and there are 2 tribes there, but they're headed by Judah, and it also contains the tribe of Benjamin. And the Apostle Paul, by the way, was a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin, as was Mordecai and Esther in the book of Esther. So Judah becomes the tribe that rules the house of Judah, and they become known as the Jews. That's where the term Jew comes from, Yehudi, Yehudim, the Jews. So they're from these 2 tribes. And there's some of the Levites and Cohens mixed up amongst them as well. And over here we have the house of Israel.